Am I on? No. Did I go live? Yeah, there I am. Good morning, everybody. How is everybody this morning? Everybody got a big weekend lined up? This might be the biggest event of my weekend right here. Hey, Doug, good morning. We have Zippity Doo Doug in the house. Mike Cabral is in the house. Francisco is in the house. Brenda Pruitt is in the house. Oh, Tennessee here too. What, somebody talking to Brenda? See, Doug, you're going to have to teach me how you put that little CA there behind Mike's name. I might should do that. Just, so he, well, because you do. Have no idea if we're having company today. I've not heard a word. Not spoken to Marcus in a couple of days. Let me see if I've got it. Just last minute notes here from him. Nothing there. Pretty sure I don't. Anybody else out there besides me ever mess with a fountain pen? Like a refillable, old-fashioned fountain pen? Like, it looks like this. And this is one, but I've only got a couple. Don't tell Brenda, but I'd like to have some more. I have no notes from Marcus, so I guess I don't know if he might show up. Oh, man. I'm already hurting, guys. This is going to be, I might be having a sucky day, which is going to suck. I just wondered, the whole world of inks is just, the pens are interesting. And the fact that they've come up with all kinds of new ones that are even throwaways. This is I'd call this a commercially available kind of thing, not high dollar. And it's by Faber-Castell, and I can't remember what they call it now. Steel nub, which I didn't know much about, but most of the high dollar ones have a gold nib. I'm sorry, nib. That's the piece I hear you right with. And I mean, and there's all different kinds. There's flexible ones that you do calligraphy with, and there are super fines, mediums. I think there's a thick, which again is probably more for calligraphy. And there's people, I've watched people online that can just, they can just write beautifully with one of these pens. And growing up, my mom and dad had several old fountain pens in a writing desk they had that I now wish I had hung on, put in a box somewhere and collected and brought home and carried them around the rest of my life with the rest of my clutter, because I'd like to refurbish them and try to use them. A friend of mine got me a fountain pen a few years ago. Well, It was when I graduated college, because I was doing a fair bit of writing back then, and I liked to do it by hand before I did it by computer. And this is a German fountain pen. Fairly nice. I mean, it's under $200, but at the time it may have gotten up to that point. It's got a really cool, fascinating pump system that it draws in the ink. I'm gearhead, so anytime I see something like that, it's cool. But unfortunately, and Mark and his former wife gave me this. I don't know if he remembered it or not, but I think she might have gotten it for him, but at the college library or bookstore. But I started writing with it then, and I was fascinated by the concept. But then I stopped doing a lot of work on paper. I was typing on paper, but I was typing and printing and not writing. There's Tina McNeil. And Ian, good morning, Ian. Someone got a fresh cut. Yes, he did. Thanks for noticing. You can compliment my wife for that. Anyway, unfortunately, a few months ago, I thought I'd be smart. And when I was an airplane guy, we used to use acetone to clean just about everything that was, especially if it was delicate or somewhat delicate. We used other chemicals, and the acetone seemed like the lesser of the evils, which is fingernail polish remover. Same thing. I mean, that's what they use in fingernail polish, or they sand it up sometimes, but it's still just what I said. And I found out that was not good. That was a big mistake. And I ruined the nib on my fountain pen. Now, this is a German fountain pen called a Pelikan with a K, no C's. And one of these days, I'd like to get it fixed, get a different nib put on it. I have a replacement for it because I felt so bad about doing that. I mean, Mark gave me that. And so I have a replacement right here. And it's got a gold nub, but it's not I don't know what carat it is. The really good ones are like 24 karat gold. This one's probably plated. And I guess the gold one's right better, but I've never actually had one. What makes it sound fancy? Oh, Tina's talking to me about that, I guess. Anyway, I just like them. I think they're neat. And I have been working on learning to write with them. And now I write just about exclusively with a fountain pen. And I've been writing more, jotting down notes, writing down thoughts and stories. I'm getting better at it. My cursive still sucks, but hell, nobody can read that anyway. Acetone that's scented. That's basically what fingernail polish remover is. And so I didn't think it would hurt it. I really thought it was probably some kind of a hard plastic, or maybe even some kind of hard rubber that would be okay. And I didn't ruin the nib itself. Actually, what I ruined was the feed device that runs along the back here and goes up into the ink, picks up the ink. I don't know if you can see that or not. Come on, magic camera, focus. There you go. See how looks like a bomb crater? Well, good old Tim did that. It should look like this, more like this anyway. This is a different brand, but well, you can tell I don't do much of this. See how it's smoother and it's got those ribs on it. So anyway, that's what it's supposed to look like. And I can get it fixed. I'd like to send it back to, Germany someday and get it fixed, but I haven't done that yet. I don't know. Maybe I won't ever do it, but it's probably not worth that much. It's not like it's a $1,000 ink pen. Uh-oh. Zoom in on my face camera. Oh, yeah, that's right. Carol's getting a new do. Well, acetone disintegrates plastic, though, doesn't it? Well, certain kinds it does. I found out. Well, thanks, Mike. I wish it had the Canadian provinces on it. And if I'd got one like that, it would be smaller in overall scale. And unless I could get my stand, I could get higher stands and I could do that better. But I'd like to have one of each, to be honest. And where is Carol? Oh, there she is. Oh, she has the volume off. Well, come on, share us with everybody, Carol. Type that into the box, somebody. She probably can't hear me, but she can read what you say. Let me pour some coffee while I'm doing that. It might just be my taste buds, and it probably is. But man, my coffee really tastes good this morning. I mean, I had a run of coffee that tasted a bit stale, and I wrote to Death Wish about it. I'm going to write them back because they've not written me back, and I don't appreciate that. If they're going to be that way, I might have to change brands after all. Hoping the next batch isn't like that, though. And it could be that it sat here for a while because I wasn't drinking it fast enough. I don't know. But I paid too much for that. Yeah, share us with the world. I promise not to say anything bad. I promise. And that's hoping I don't say anything, if she decides to do that. So what's anybody doing special today? Ian, what are you doing today? Getting up to any trouble? You're getting a unicorn style mohawk done. I hope so. If she does, I hope she'll come on and show it to us. Maybe we can get one of her kids to take a picture. Excuse me. Yes, it was. Well, it was still, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't want to stick your finger in it, and so you might think it. I mean, that's not the communication. That's not the audio. That's me stuttering. I was trying to think how to put it. It didn't scald my finger when I stuck it in it, but it was hot. So I just capped it back up and brought it down, and it'll be good. Thank you. That's why she's asking is I filled it up. Yes, she filled it up for me yesterday morning, and I got up really late in the afternoon. I think by the time I got up, and she left, decided it was too late to fix it, which I'm not sure why I think that. Sorry, Tina. It was me, and then I made it worse. But Mike says pretty cloudy where we are right now. Not too sure what we're up to, but I have to go for my medical for my license. Keep my class too. Oh, on a Saturday? Wow. Our doctors don't work on a Saturday unless they're in a hospital. I'm not even sure they work then. I'll take that back. I'm sure many do. A lot do, but regular doctors out in private, I don't know if they keep open Saturday hours much or not anymore. Beautiful with storms later, Doug says. I didn't even look to see. We've had a lot of stormy weather lately. But yeah, good luck on that, Mike. If they tell you to lay off the donuts, tell them you're not eating any right now. In private. Oh, do they? Well, that's interesting, Mike. Maybe they do in a lot of places. I know mine doesn't, unless she goes out on call. Well, she's actually been known to make some house calls. Hit that like button, everybody, if you don't mind. Now, Doug, do you have to do drives for that, or is that all written and fill out the paper and get it, or what do you have to go through? I forgot about there being medicals involved, and I don't know what the difference is between a CDL and whatever Mike said class 2 is. Your primary has Saturday hours, but the worst time to go to the hospital is on a weekend. Yeah, that's true. They, yeah. Well, I don't know who's there or what's there, but I know that it's expensive to go on the weekends. It's hard to, you know what else is expensive to do on a weekend? Die. It's expensive to die on the weekend. It's mandatory here. We are where we are in Canada, and you must do a physical every year, regardless of your health. But not just for a standard operator's license, right, Mike? Like just a like Diana would need. I mean, if you do, you do. I was thinking that, Doug says that was just for my picture license. I have to recert every 4 years, written test and class, and driving time. Do you have to do a physical with that, Doug? Tina says Chuck had a very bad experience in the hospital in the weekend. Oh, that's not good. And probably residents and those that are out there learning how to practice medicine. Have you ever wondered why they call it practicing medicine? Good friend of mine used to talk about that a lot. And then Brenda said something about here in the South, the weekends mean that all the gobblers are doing stupid things and they're screaming, "Watch this." Gobblers? I bet you didn't mean gobblers or goobers. Excuse me, goobers. Yes, goobers. Yes. All the goobers down here are doing stupid things and screaming, "Watch this." Oh, you forgot, Brenda. You got to hold your beer and then watch this. Well, I'm going to be ignorant, Tina. I'm not sure I know what TIAs is. Mike's back. Had to go outside. The dog was barking like damn squirrels. Damn squirrels. I don't have any squirrels today because they've cleaned out my bird feeders. I've got to get back out and refill them. Darwin Award winners. Brenda, does magnesium, what is that magnesium what you take extra? Mike has a good question here for our friend in Colorado. Which, nope, potassium. That's what you were taking. Oh God, they were huge. I had a little bit of trouble swallowing those things. Transient ischemic something or another. Okay. Oh, also called a mini stroke. Oh no. Is that recent or is that something he's had a while back? That's what was going on that weekend, particular weekend. I'm trying to think if I remember you mentioning that. Probably you probably have before and I just forgot, but Mike said, "Oh, company I work for Doug said the company I work for pays for our physicals, and my oh, okay, I got reimbursed for all of it, but where I'm getting it done because we're pretty much going on strike in the next couple of weeks." Oh, well, Mike, I hope that works out. I take magnesium. He did not have particularly low magnesium. It was a year ago this week. Wow. And did he recover fully? I mean, was it how? I don't want you to get into details, but that's your business. But I mean, sometimes mini strokes are bad, but not nearly as serious. Mike, I have a question about that. Not the strike. I haven't got to that yet. The doctor's deal. Do you have to go to a special private doctor or something to get that done up there, or do you get that done with the whatever the national hospital, whatever you guys have for healthcare? Um, are these charges above and beyond that? Yeah, I take too many pills too, Tina. I'd really like to get off of them. I think I'm going to start going to herbal medicines. I've been reading up on some stuff or watching YouTube videos. I bet that's okay, don't you think? Because everything's right. Nobody lies on YouTube. You know, not easy to go to any doctor, but I see my family doctor. Woohoo for no strike. Mike says it's all covered by health care besides for the paperwork. Okay, well, you were talking about getting reimbursed. I just wondered. I was taking I took the rabies vaccination one time or a series of times. I mean, it lasts for a little while before you have to get it boosted. But anyway, had the rabies vaccination at work, and they paid for that. Somebody told me that was normally if you have to pay for it, it was a couple $100 or $300 a shot. I'm not sure if that's correct, but But if you have a pilot's license, you have to go see a special doctor. It's a whole different. But yeah, you have to go to somebody that's, well, I don't know about up there, but I mean, I think that's the way it is down here. You have to go to somebody that's, that knows about things that pilots need to, have working. At least that's what I've remember about it. Do you have a pilot's license, Mike? And then Doug says, no. Wait a minute. No, the company subcontracts a doctor to come into our work and do physicals. Once a month. I do believe that we're over medicated and under healthy food fed. Yeah, you're probably right, Tina. In fact, hey, Diana, welcome in. And Diana has her coffee with her. She is prepared. And then Mike says, no, we do not, but we've been thinking about it. Okay. We got a mouse in your pocket? Or does Diana plan on getting in on that? I still give that thoughts. There's times when I'd still like to have a license. I should have gotten one years ago, but when I was much more up to speed and had flown more. That's cool, Mike. What do they both? Doug, I'm not sure I would ask that, but now that you have, that's a good question. No, Mike and the kid, Diana says. Oops. Oh, yeah, and the kid too. I forgot I didn't see that one, but I did see this one. Oh me, oh me. I saw I was looking for something else entirely. And I saw a thing yesterday. I believe it was in Wyoming, and I'm not sure how old it was. I don't know if it's current, but um, they were discussing that I had Sarah in here for a show one Saturday. You guys probably remember her, and I thought she was really doing good because she started flying when she was like 13 or so. And there's a kid up in Wyoming who's evidently been flying a little bit from the right seat. Hey, I got company. He's flying. He was flying, and he's 6 years old. So I guess they're gonna. I guess Wyoming is gonna outdo it. Out there, buddy.
Howdy. I'm liking that haircut.
I knew you would.
I'm tight, buddy.
I'm probably not tight enough to suit you, but I'm tight enough to suit me for the.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
You'd never seen me.
I've just told my daughter-in-law we needed to give my youngest grandson a haircut. She didn't like that idea at all.
Oh, she gonna let it get really nice and long?
Well, his daddy wears his hair longer occasionally, but not when he was a boy. He had a good haircut when he was a boy, but he's there. I'm like, well, I'll just put some pigtails in it pretty soon or something. So,
well, I think that's
which is okay if that's
if it was a proper appropriate thing and I could stand it long enough, I'd do mine in braids, but it'd take me a while.
Yeah, my hair's curly, so it would never do that.
Your hair is curly. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, I could probably grow up. I can look like an aboriginal off of a Bugs Bunny cartoon, but I could never grow my hair long.
Yeah, Mike wants to know if we're seeing the same barber.
Oh, heck no.
Mike.
Not unless you're out here, not unless you're coming to my house, because I haven't bought a haircut in 30 years.
Well, me either, because Brenda cuts mine. I made her cut.
Obviously, I do my own.
Diana, that's been discussed. It's not quite long enough. I've thought about that. I thought about just letting it get really ragged and long, and then braid it. And Brenda,
you can fork it like the Vikings used to.
Yeah,
and then you braid each fork.
I wanted to,
and then you can wrap it around your neck. It keeps you from getting your head lopped off the sword.
Oh,
at least that's what they thought.
There was a guy. I don't know who he is, but I've seen him around. I've seen pictures. He's an old motorcycle guy, and he looks like an old cowboy in that he's weathered and sun beat, and he's traveled all God knows how many miles he's ridden all over America just in his lifetime. He's kind of the Hells Angels 1%er kind.
Is he my cousin?
No,
it's not my cousin.
Not your cousin. I don't think so.
He's an honest to God for.
Well, yeah, I know. This guy's got his beard split right down the middle, like you're saying, and it comes out, and it's like that when he rides his motorcycle. It's back split.
I've seen him. It like the wind sweeps it back.
And now I've got it all messed up. But
come here, buddy.
Never want to hold it.
Come here and see Uncle Tim. Come here.
Hey, who's there? That be Boone?
Oh no, we got a whole bunch of them today. Come here.
Oh
buddy.
Boy.
Come here. Why do you have the control for the TV? That's not good. That's Boone.
Hey, buddy.
Say hey, everybody.
That looks like Boone Thomas.
I asked him if he wanted to get on with and see Uncle Tim, and he said, "No, I want to watch Polk." He's saying it right now.
What is that?
Well, that's Coulter Wall singing the song Cowpoke.
Oh.
Yeah, well, that's Tim. Say howdy. Say howdy.
Howdy, howdy, Boone.
Owen's in the living room. Bye.
Hi.
There you go. Take off, you little varmint.
How's that new puppy doing?
She's doing great. Hey, Della.
Della, bring
Grandpa
the puppy. He wants to show his friend.
It's a busy weekend for us.
Ian says for
I
somebody
gotta-
that lives out in the middle of nowhere, you sure have a lot of, your house sure is busy.
And for a hermit, like it drives me a little, just slightly more crazy than I have been. Say, this is Della.
Hey, Della.
Show Tim the puppy. So
There's the puppy.
this is Penny, huh? Penny.
Penny.
She's a red border collie.
She actually looks bigger than she did last time I saw her, which I thought was just last week.
Was she on the? She wasn't on the show, was she? No.
No, you sent me a picture of her. That's true. She wasn't on the show.
So she is.
I think the other one was.
She is 75% border, and 1/8. I got to make sure I make up my percentages right. 1/8 Catahoula and 1/8 Kelpie.
That would make a quarter.
So
That's
she's 3 breeds of dog, and then hey Crockett, come here, buddy. We got grand dogs too. Crockett is mostly corgi. He's like 3/4 corgi, and then he's got an 1/8 red heeler and an 1/8 Australian Shepherd. And so we thought we would breed those two, and we'd have the perfect cow dog then. Like it'd be like every cow dog there is in one dog.
And one dog. That'd be pretty good lick.
I think they'd be good, but
You might be on to something there.
Boone's puppy was on the. Oh yeah, that's right, Ian. He got on the show last week. We've had these grandbabies and dogs a lot this summer.
Already.
And the summer's not over.
Yeah, Crockett. That's right, Ian. Ian's doing a lot
Crockett
better.
was on last week. That's correct.
Good job, Ian. You remember better than I do.
Oh, that's right, because Boone was actually sick.
Yeah, that's right.
But he's looking pretty stellar today.
Yeah, he looked like he was on the job.
Come here, buddy. He's
I think that's what they're hoping.
and he,
Nina.
he's a fine looking young man too.
Hey,
he's got
Boone,
all
welcome
his-
back.
He's got his cowboy clothes on this morning. He looks good.
Good job.
Okay, off you go, bud. He's fine, babe.
He's fine. He's not hurting anything.
He ain't hurting nothing. You ain't hurting nothing,
Ian
are you,
said-
buddy?
Ian says I work and I try to pay attention. I thought you should say I work and I know things. I think I'm going to get us a T-shirt that said I chase squirrels and I know things. Mike says
Well, when I went out, so I've got a paddock that my horses, I've got the mares in with the foal in kind of a small barn lot paddock right now, and there's some goat pens down the paddock. Hush up. And there, maybe your grandma does need to come get you. Maybe, huh? Anyway, the my foal was in one of those little goat pens this morning. Can't get in there without jumping the fence.
Oh my! So she's jumping.
So the
fence.
dogs chased her in there. Somebody did, and I'm not very happy with
Dogs.
canids this morning. So I'm already treating a big leg wound on her. She's already gotten the wire because she's a horse, and that's what they do for a living, is try to injure themselves. So
Yeah. Tina says she just counts squirrels, and you know things. And Ian says, I think I'm going to just start telling everybody his hobby is chasing squirrels. That's a good hobby. I'm going to tell you, Ian, much as I joke about
you
it,
can chase a squirrel.
chasing squirrels is good. And, you know, man can grow up, earn a decent living that way, get a real job.
They can. They get up in the trees and start leaving, jumping from tree to tree. You can have a heck of a chase.
Right, Mary. Yes, a right, Mary chase indeed. You
Till
got
they
to
find that tree with the hole in it, and then it's over. Then your
And then-
chasing days are over.
then you
Unless you got a big old greenbrier or a piece of barbed wire, and then you can fetch that down into that hole and twist it around and maybe get a hold of his tail and pull him
yank
up
it
out.
out. You better be ready for what's coming, though.
And my grandpa did that. He caught a fox squirrel like that in a big hollow fence post, ran a greenbrier down in and pulled a big old fox squirrel out and was going to take it to my grandmother for a pet when they were courting before they were married.
This is how we court back here, guys. And we give gifts.
Pulled that big old fox squirrel out of there, and he grabbed him, and the fox squirrel grabbed him back right
in there, yeah.
right there, and wouldn't let go like a snapping turtle. And Grandpa ended up having to dispatch the squirrel just to get him off of him.
Well, I'll explain.
And we won't talk about the teeth that he used to do that, but
I'll tell you what, we'll discuss.
The squirrel bit him, and he bit him back.
I'm not sure, Ian. I think sometimes it's literal. Well, maybe you're chasing squirrels, isn't it? But you know, Grandpa.
It's okay to do it for real every now and again too.
Yeah, it is, and you can sell the tails, the maps, spinners,
or just have a chase and no capture at the end.
Yeah, well, you can do that. You can do that. You get when you park, there's things you got to watch out for though, because when you're squirrel chasing, you gotta, you get cricks in you walk around like this a lot.
The squirrel hunter neck, we call it.
Squirrel hunter neck, we call it. Yeah, you can usually tell a good big squirrel hunter.
I think my neck's permanently crippled from being a squirrel hunter.
I've spent enough time in the woods that I thought mine wasn't going to move back. It just really gets sore after a while.
Oh,
because I just don't look. I got to comment on something there, brother. Your mustache when it gets out there in public is long and proper.
Look at that.
I'm looking at it. You could curl that thing up on the ends and hang on to it for handlebars.
I got a buddy named he's from old Virginia, and he had a big old handlebar, kind of a curled mustache. Jimmy James Wassine, and he got rid of his mustache. His wife wanted him to shave his mustache off, and he came to the office, and I said, "Put it back," because he had a beautiful big old curled up mustache, and I'm proud to say he's grown it back. So
good for him.
But it took a couple years.
Good morning, Tony. Welcome in. Phantasmic Chronicles has joined us, folks. I don't know if I've missed anybody, but if I have, I apologize, and somebody can shout you out we'll say howdy.
And I don't even know what you're talking about today. I just thought I'd get. I'm late.
Oh,
Sorry.
you-
Eric the bear. Oh, you're talking about Eric the bear. You're talking about fork beards and
You're you're perceptive there, my brother. Squirrel. Ian.
you're talking about early visitors to the North American continent.
I am. Look what Ian put. He says squirrel neck. That's a real thing, Tony. Or
That's
Ian?
an actual thing, Ian. Where we grew up, that's an actual ailment. Squirrel hunter's neck, not just squirrel neck, squirrel hunter's neck. Hi, buddy. What you got? Oh, thank you. You probably don't want that.
Mike says you need a hallway pass, he thinks.
You probably don't need that at all, Bubba.
Yep, squirrel hunter's neck's a real thing now.
But that's a cool tool too. What?
I was trying to think of any other ailments that we get back here that might be. Well, there's the old.
Well, I mean, you know, ticks and yellow
yeah.
jackets and copperheads, and
all
there's a lot of ailments that are local.
That's true. Well, the other one I was thinking about that just now was.
You can't. You're not watching Poke. We're watching Tim.
Oh, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, you got the short leg, long leg syndrome.
Oh yeah, where you like, you know, you're like chasing side hill grazers.
Yeah. Cows are that way too.
Hey, chill, young man.
My granddad had to put in extra trails so they wouldn't run into each other. Right hand long legs and left hand long legs have to walk opposite directions on the hill. If they get mixed up, they'll fall off the hill and roll down to the bottom.
Well, I mean, when you were haying or plowing, you had to have somebody. You had to have opposites so that you could do it both ways.
Exactly. Just have to swap on who's on the train.
And people think that we're kidding.
Yeah, they think.
I knew kids seemed like every summer somebody got killed on a dang farm-haul tractor.
Yeah, it happened a lot, way too often.
Because the hills that we put hay up on. And those, tricycle front end tractors would just roll over on you.
They're awful for that. Yeah.
Oh my God, I got so many mosquitoes in this house. There. Did you hear that?
Pretty quick.
Yeah, he died a violent death there. Sorry, folks. I just killed an actual animal on TV.
Brenda said Tennessee Ridge Runners.
Does a mosquito count as an actual animal, though?
Well, it
is in the animal kingdom.
It is. It counts.
And I'm trying real hard to accept them as a
friend,
as a keystone species that makes the world go round. But
it's hard, isn't it?
They're really hard to deal with.
I don't think. And this is not entirely for a joke, but I don't think people realize that when they start killing all the bugs, what that might actually do down the road somewhere.
Well, it ain't going to be good. It ain't going to be good. It ain't going to be good for people or anything else. But
I'm actually, you can laugh at me. You probably tell me why I'm wrong, but I've often wondered that because of the whole idea of keystone species and, everything has a place. We use so much antibacterial hand wash these days that washing hands might eventually kill out that lower level, which is going to kill out the next level, and it's just going to go right up past mosquitoes into squirrels.
Well, there's been talk. There's been talk about. I sound like I'm on the Quiet Man or something. There's been talk, but they're
Pilgrim.
There's people that are worried about, antibacterials and what that
Right.
might be doing. And not only how it might be acting against the bacteria, but our own selves on whether we can handle bacteria or not.
Well, I think
I think we'll be gone before they are, that personally. But
yeah, we probably will. I'm talking way down the road, but you just made a really good point that it's probably making us less and less resistant to some of that stuff because
I mean, kids don't go out and eat horse crap and stuff like that anymore. Like we
dog food out of the bag.
and dog food right out of the bag. And yeah,
I mean,
my grandkids are well versed in. Like my youngest grandson that was just on here yesterday, I noticed that he was out there licking the glass on my sliding glass door.
well,
So I thought I was gonna I thought maybe I would buy him a box of 64 Crayolas and maybe issue him an EGA and let him join the Marine Corps.
Wait a minute. What's that? What do the crayons have to do with Marine Corps?
Well, that's what you eat. If you're a Marine, you eat crayons.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, I think all my grandbabies are going to be okay in the bacteria department. They're not encouraged to, but they just naturally do it. Go kiss a chicken, go whatever.
At least when they're at grandmas and grandpas.
Well, so I go out to we've got a big chicken house that we've got the layers in. And we have another chicken house where we get replacement hens when we buy them as chicks and we raise them up in a separate house. And the girls, the grandgirls are all out there like hugging and kissing on those chickens all the time. And they're the nastiest things on the planet as far as I'm concerned. But there you go.
There you go. Mike says canned dog food's actually pretty good. But I think that made Diana just a little green there. She don't know. She doesn't. Either she don't agree or she don't.
Well, and that there were people not that long ago that were talking about homeless folks and poor people and having to eat canned dog food.
It happens.
And I bought canned dog food for some of my dogs at that time, and I'm like, well, heck, you could buy like an entire case of ramen noodles for what you pay for a can of dog food. It's like if you don't need to be eating dog food unless you like it.
Well, dog food maybe have outpriced itself from the homeless culture. But you got to have some way to prepare ramen noodles. I mean, you can eat them crunchy, but they're better if you can at least soak them in water.
I'm sorry, folks. I act like I'm punching the camera, but I'm just trying to catch mosquito.
Mike says it's the same thing as Spam. Now, I disagree there, Mike. I'm a Spam fan.
So I got a buddy that was a jarhead that loves Spam and loves fried Spam like Dad always did. And, we ate a lot of it when I was a kid, especially camping, and Spam and eggs. And he bought us a case of it or bought us a, 6-pack or whatever of Spam. And I made a bunch of eggs one morning and we fried that Spam up and it was so salty I couldn't eat it. It was the low sodium version, and I'm like, I cannot eat this anymore.
I'll tell you what, the regular, I bought some here a while back because every once in a while I get a hankering. and which Brenda don't even like to fix. But anyway, I get a yearning for it, and it was the regular stuff was so salty, even I couldn't eat it, and I eat a lot of salt. But the
I
low
like,
sodium
I
I
mean,
can deal
I
with.
like a little salt, but my God, it was bad.
It I don't know what happened there. I don't know if they just had a guy that went a little crazy on the salt shaker or what.
Well, and it might have been that they just got the wrong breed in the wrong can, but I was like, I cannot believe I ate the good stuff at one point because we had the low sodium version. Chicken kissers.
Kissers. She's been listening.
Hey, come here, Della.
Jelly, you missed that part.
You want me to turn it off and you can go get dressed?
Della, come here and see me a minute. Can you come here?
He might be busy.
She is busy. They're always busy. Come here just a second. So this is a chicken kisser right here.
If you kiss
Say hello. Hello, people of the world.
it's okay to kiss a chicken. I think of a lot worse things than that. It's but welcome in, Shelly.
I went out there the other day and I had three of my granddaughters and 2 honorary granddaughters, 5 girls in a chicken house kissing chickens. They all had a chicken in their hands and they were all like, oh, and I'm like, what in the world are you girls doing?
Who do the honorary grandkids belong to?
The McFarlands.
The McFarlands.
They're good Scott. They're good Scots. So.
Hell yeah, I hope Upper Michigan is not UP, but upper Lower Michigan is
come here, buddy.
being good to you today.
And here's the Toxic Avenger.
Hey there, Owen. How are you?
Owen's got look at this big old knot on his head from a mosquito bite.
Oh no. Mosquitoes like to bite you.
Did mosquito get you, buddy? Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
pretty bad.
He's always got a knot right there, though, from either a mosquito bite or a bump.
Well, Owen, I've heard that you're a bull rider. Is that true?
Are you a bull rider? Are you sure? I've seen you ride a bull.
I heard you were a good bull rider.
I can't.
You what?
I can't.
Who's your favorite bull rider? Is it Jose Vitor Leme? All right, off you go.
Somebody.
Off you go.
I'm sorry, but I got to stick with JB Mooney until he retires.
He'll always be my favorite, one of them.
Certainly is a yeah.
All right, buddy. Take off.
Hey, kissing. Was it kissing chickens, Tony? Mike says, "Is that the sliding door? Perhaps that he was licking." Oh no, that's a bay window, Mike. Right behind Mark is a bay window. The
Holy buckets! He's throwing a fit now.
Uh-oh. Owen or Boone?
No, Boone. Owen doesn't throw fits no more. Not very often.
The sliding door he goes through every once in a while when he takes us on a mobile.
It was the sliding door that he was licking.
Yeah, but
right?
that's not it behind you. That's your bay window.
No, that's the bay window that's my bay window.
That's
right
where
there.
a lot of bird feeders are.
Yeah, and the sliding door's in that direction somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Shelly says she was playing her mama's chicken coop when she was little.
Yeah, and that's just you
survived it.
If you go into a chicken coop, you're surrounded by some good bacteria really quickly.
Some good stuff.
The good stuff. Because I don't care what kind of a chicken raiser you might be, they're kind of a nasty, disgusting creature if they don't just roam free.
Yeah, the more you coop them up, I'll tell you what, I've heard. I used to work with a guy that when he was a kid earned money occasionally by shoveling out chicken houses.
Yeah, which is awful.
Yeah. Well, I got to admit that's probably not the most fun way for chickens to live and lay eggs, but
well, our chicken house where we keep our big chickens is huge.
I'm talking about where they cage them all up and they just lay eggs.
Yeah, that's just not right at all in my opinion. But even our chicken house is nasty.
Well, yeah. Well, it does have that white stuff in it.
There's not enough time in a day to keep up after chickens. Unless they just roam, you got a house that you put them up in of an evening, and even then it's going to get a mess. But if you can just let them free range during the day, which I would love to do. But we have so many creatures here that eat chickens, we just can't. I mean, we have like 5 species of big raptor in the yard all the time.
We've had some here in the last week or so. We had at least one, probably a couple of red shoulders that were flying around. I've had a feeling. Well, I've got a feeling the way they were acting, they were probably fledgling young. Well, no, it's too. Well, they might have been fledgling young.
Yeah, they should be fledged.
Well, yeah, I was thinking they should already been gone though. But anyway, they were being very vocal here last week. And they
what are you doing, boy?
They used to nest right across the road every year. This year they didn't, so I'm not sure. But I think they were close around. We hear them a lot. And then we have red tails, of course, that are always flying. I see red tails behind the house here a lot because they hunt that strip up behind me. I'm not sure if they're hunting dogs and cats or if they're actually hunting wild game, but
hopefully a few your pesky or feeder robbers.
I wish they would. I can't, every once in a while I'll see a Cooper's out here swoop by, but I haven't seen a Cooper's lately.
Well, they're usually just eating your birds, not your pesky or feeder robbers.
That's true. Diana, that's not such a bad thing to do. My daughter has a few hens in her yard, and she can let them out and let them range them. I don't know if she can move her chicken house. Somebody builds a neat thing for urban people that like to have some chickens. It's a small coop with a box structure for the hens to get in and lay their eggs. And what you do is it's got wheels, and you pick it up on one end like a wheelbarrow, and you move it every day to a different part of your yard, and they can find the bugs and pick and eat the bugs and worms and whatnot. And then tomorrow you can move them to another spot, and you just move them around your yard. It's not entirely free range, but it's pretty close. Brenda and I saw it on some TV show. I'm sure it was, National Geographic or something. Hey, Carol's back, or she's at least communicating. She's getting her due done. Brenda was trying to talk her into getting a mohawk and then spiking it like a unicorn.
But
we're not sure she hasn't, she didn't commit to it. Oh. But yes, if you haven't figured it out, we're going to talk about Vikings today. Not so much about Vikings as some of their influence in America. And I'm not going to this is not a pure history lesson, but it's a partial. It's a beginning. Mohawk. Let's see. She's a little west for the actual, there could have been Mohawks there as I got pushed west, but I don't know if any of the Native American tribes in that area had the top knot. Some of them had their head plucked or shaved all the way back to the back, and then they had an area that was pulled back in a ponytail kind of a thing, or sticking straight up, and everything else was gone. Oh, I forgot to take you off the screen there, Diana. Osprey will be leaving the nest next month. Up your way, yeah, that's probably true. Down here, I'm not sure if they've already gone or not, Shelley. That's a good. I think they are later down here though than some of the other stuff. I remember we had to go out and monitor some nests one year, and seems like it was about this time of year, maybe just a little bit earlier. Well, Tina, you could look at it that way. I mean, if you want to be skeptical, but it's not anymore. But I mean, that's what I do best. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. Like I said, I'm not trying to say I know nothing much about it. I'm just going to talk about it like I do. But it's come up several times, and I know we talked about a little bit when we talked about treasures and places and historical secret treasures that people have hunted in America. But this is more about, where did the Vikings go? And I know one map I didn't put in here. I'll have to pull it up. But if we didn't have Vikings here early on, why are there so many statues of them? Especially if you get up around Minnesota. I mean, there's this big one in front of the state capitol. There's this one in Duluth. Now, this one right here they think is one of the earliest ones dedicated to Leif. I think Leif Erikson, which that image to me doesn't look very Vikingish, but who knows? He's got a, big curved bladed knife. Maybe he is, but that's in Boston. I think that's the oldest honorary thing for Vikings in the country. And then there's these paintings that were done, some of them quite a long time ago. There's one of these, I believe, was done in the 1700s, but both of these are basically showing their version of Leif Erikson when he was discovering America. And I actually thought this one, it's funny. The bottom was kind of funny because this is to me, this is sort of an image that resembles Columbus. Like we see a lot of Columbus pictures where he's discovering the new world. But Shelley says she used to free range her chickens, but like Mark, critters were you got a lot of critters that get chickens up your way too. We got quite a few down here, but nothing like they got out west. I mean, we might have a passing weasel or a mink, but we do have coons, and raccoons will definitely get into your chicken house, and fox. So I don't know if Kelly's had any predation issues or not. Some of these cages, the ones I was talking about earlier that you can move around, they're built with a heavy wire cage, and they're double layered so that they can't get all the way through, at least not at once. Hawks and raccoons aren't going to count as a squirrel today, if that's what you're insinuating, Carol, but maybe you're not. Oh, no, she's talking to Shelley. Excuse me. I didn't want to get too far ahead of Marcus. Let's see if he makes it back. Well, I guess we got one more holiday for the summer, so to speak, if you happen to be somebody that gets off on that day. Be Labor Day. This used to be kind of a dry stretch from July 4th till Labor Day, but I guess it's really not that far. Anybody got any big plans for the end of the summer? Shelley says coyotes, fox, those dang feral cats that people think is cool to dump off out in the country. Yes, Shelley. My God, that you talk about a hard topic to deal with from the land management perspective. Did I miss your? No, you haven't missed Teddy sightings because he's not gotten up yet. He was up earlier and he was just standing up here showing off, doing all kinds of things, and then he laid down. I tried to get him to, time that a little bit better. I missed something about highlights. I guess that was from Carol. I'm sitting in a chair with a head full of tinfoil. He's trying to contact Mars. Well, you should introduce us, Carol, to everybody in the shop. They might enjoy the conversation. Tina, just following my hobby. Well, what did you say, Ian? I'm not sure what Mark had to go do. We can keep talking. Sure it had something to do with dogs or kids. So anyway, I thought we do a lot of talking about Vikings for peoples that some people don't think were all that important to over here. And we've even had, I don't think this ever came out, but this was some kind of a idea on a quarter, I believe, or maybe it was. No, it's a $1 coin. I don't think this ever came out. Does anybody know? This might have been something like a Franklin Mint project, but that's supposed to be a silver dollar with Vikings on it. Oh. And it does say United States of America, founder of the New World. $1. Of course, now that don't say, it does say pluribus unum. So maybe that is a real copy. But I don't think they ever did. Anybody know if that was ever printed? I think as that's seen on well, that's what I'm thinking, Tina, but I thought it was neat that somebody went to the trouble to do it. Maybe dogs jumping on kids or even kids jumping on dogs. Very possible. Very, very possible. And I suspect you're right. Shelley said, had a chicken tractor. It's broken. A chicken tractor? I might have to have an explanation of that. Ian, you chase squirrels, but do you ever catch them? Well, Mark, you missed a couple of slides, but you can see them.
Sorry, buddy. I'm chasing grandkids.
Oh, we were discussing that, trying to figure
They're
out.
running around with things like this, which is probably not good.
Oh, yeah, sharp rocks.
Yeah, sharp rocks.
Well, that's what I was thinking, Carol. It was a commemorative thing for, I don't know what year they were thinking about doing that. It was something somebody suggested. Well, I was just discussing the fact there's a lot of art and stuff like that about Vikings for a people that we didn't really give a lot of credit for discovering, anything over here. These are all supposed to be as they came to America. A lot of different.
I don't think they ever had horns or Thor feathers on their helmets, personally.
They didn't?
Well, I don't think so.
I suspect you might be right.
They like to say now that they darn sure didn't, but it's cool looking.
Well, yeah, it is cool looking.
Not very practical, but it's pretty cool looking.
Kind of like they always show Native American Indians in war bonnets and beaded.
Yeah, even though
dress.
most of them never wore, unless you were a Plains person, you never had one of those.
And even then, they didn't wear them very much. I thought this was kind of cool too. This is a European stamp for Leif Erikson. It has, on the northern hemisphere, has a Viking type ship, and on the bottom has a, Christopher Columbus's, which makes me think of something.
So he went from Greenland to Newfoundland.
Yeah, Nova Scotia. No, he went to Newfoundland, but the stories I've read in the last few days. I believe they decided not to land because the natives at that spot seemed hostile at that moment. Somebody had evidently done something to tick them off.
Well, they got into some big old scraps with like the Micmacs.
Maybe. And so
And,
they moved further down the St. Lawrence and came into Nova Scotia, I believe. And they they found some things written that said, that they found these great, better looking fields and farmland type country that they felt like could be converted to those items much easier. And that was down the St. Lawrence ways.
And they were pretty far south compared to where they lived in Greenland.
Oh yeah,
I guess they got to Greenland about the same time as Inuit people did, actually.
Well, they did, and I've got a map of that. Now, since you mentioned it,
okay, I'm gonna shut up then.
No,
I don't mean to be spoiler alerting. I'm just
no, but here I've got a couple of you. I mean, I wasn't sure
you
about.
Think the Inuits would have been there forever, but they didn't get. They got there like the same day as like Nordic people did.
Yeah, Shelley. I mean, pick up on a couple things Shelley said, and well, there's Carol. I'll ask Danny about the coin when I get home. He'll know. Okay, and then she said, Ian chases squirrels, Mark chases grandkids, Tina chases hounds. I feel like I'm the only one sitting. If I had to chase them right now.
Oh, come on, Mark. You probably ran with sharp. I did. Well, I ran with sharp rocks and knives, Tina.
And tomahawks too at times.
and I have great big scars on my fingers to prove it. And tomahawks and
maybe even a loaded rifle or two.
Yeah.
Cage on wheels for chickens. That's called a chicken tractor. Okay, Shelley, I didn't realize.
But it's not okay for little kids to cut themselves anymore like it used to be.
No, they're not supposed to learn that way. Tina says,
like the school hard knocks. That is not an okay teaching method anymore.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't seem to be socially acceptable at times. Shelley, I think this is a good number because that's what they think some of the Vikings were over, maybe not Newfoundland, but certainly in Greenland in the 900s, the 8th century, 8th century. I guess that'd be the 10th century. Anyway,
Leif's father was Eric the Red.
Correct. That's why Leif is named Eric's
son. And Eric the Red was in Greenland pretty early. Well, I mean, not that much earlier than his son, but they went there pretty early, I think. Yeah. And it was about the same time they figured that the Inuits actually arrived in Greenland.
Yeah.
Almost within, a decade or two of each other.
And that was what I read was they refer to them, it was the Tulis. And
right.
And they kind of call those I saw something that actually used the term pre-Inuit.
Yeah.
Or pseudo Inuit, something like that.
Right.
And they were first, but they were. Shelley's right. The Vikings were in Canada. This village that they found that we've talked about a little bit, that's what's in the top, and I can't pronounce the name of it, so I'll apologize. And this is sort of a layout of that. And the map is just showing you where Greenland. It's a map that was drawn at one time. They think about this is how the Vikings kind of looked at that part of the world, I guess. And,
so Helluland was the Arctic, basically.
The what?
The Helluland.
Yeah, it was further north, right?
And then Markland, and then Vinland was where this village site was at, I think.
And it was in Newfoundland, if I'm not mistaken.
And one of the buildings, when you look at it aerially, I think, looks like a bear. Looks like Tim Pruitt, like right there, like hanging out literally the building, the outline of the building, it was a stone and whatever structure, and it's hard for me to imagine that wasn't an effigy building of some form, because it looks just like a bear, I think.
Diana says that they have Vikings in Manitoba too, and that's where I'm kind of headed with this, Diana. I don't know what you guys know about them up there. I mean, I don't know how they're discussed and exactly where they went, but there are people now who believe that is the case, and that's one of the things that actually got me started on this.
They lived on the River of the Giants, Amiosipi Mostapio Gayatsik in Manitoba. And
where are you knowing this? You know this on the top of your head?
Well, so you remember the dude that did the what was that movie about the wolves where he went and lived with the wolves up in
and ate the mouse
in Canada, in northern Canada, and he ate the mice.
Something about wolves. Wolves was in the name.
Come on, Tina, help us. Somebody help.
The guy that was in there, he decided to figure out how the wolves survived.
Yeah, he went out and lived with wolves.
And he learned to eat the mice and voles that they were eating up there.
So the guy that wrote that book wrote a couple of almost like Two Little Savage kind of books about one of them was called Lost in the Barrens, and one of them was called Lost in the Barrens 2.
I think I've got that book if I walked over there.
I have it. I have the movie too, it was a young Cree man and a white boy from Toronto or somewhere.
He was the one doing the research.
And he was in school and he got kicked out of school and he lost his scholarship or something. I had to go live with his uncle that was a fur baron, and actually in reality he was just a trapper. Went and lived with him, and who lived with the Cree people, and they went on an adventure, and they went looking for a Viking tomb in northern Manitoba, and it was on a river called Amiosipi Mostapio Gayatsik.
Whoops, I hit the wrong button. Be right back. I'm going to look for that book.
You have it?
I don't know about the one you're talking about. I'm talking about the one with the guy ate the mice.
Oh, you're looking for
I won't take too long though.
Wolves. I can even see the actor that played him.
Yeah,
but I can't think of his name either. But if you ever see, there's a movie called Lost in the Barrens, and I have a copy of it on VHS, and it's a really cool story, kind of a coming of age story about some boys in Canada, a native boy and a white boy from Canada, and they go and hunt for a Viking tomb, and it's really cool. I thought it's one of my favorite movies. And then they did a follow-up where they found a Viking tomb. They took his sword out of the tomb, and then they started getting the Hanks and Hoodoos after him, and they decided to take the sword back to the tomb and return it to its rightful owner, and then they weren't cursed anymore. I think the second book's called The Curse of the Viking Grave.
Well, I can't find it.
Farley Mowat is the author, Tim.
Farley Mowat.
Farley Mowat, and the book is, and I almost had it. It's something.
It's something wolves.
Brian Dennehy was in the movie. He was the pilot that flew
He flew him out there.
Flew him out there, and the airplane broke down in the air. And he had to fix it while they were in flight. And it was just like a crazy flight.
I remember he had the canoe on the bottom. What was that guy's name again?
It's not something silly like Never Cry Wolf, is it?
It is that.
Is that the name of the book?
I believe it is. Hang on, I'm going to run that.
My wife just said, yeah, that's Farley Mowat.
Yeah, there it is right there. Never Cry Wolf. Good job. I'm glad one of us still has.
Well, your wife beat us all to it because she.
Oh, she's got it right here. Never Cry Wolf.
Well, but we might all came up with it at the same time, except my wife came up with it like she was the absolute first.
But it was directed by Carol Ballard, so I was going down the wrong rabbit hole. Oh, that's the movie, yeah. So not.
Well, if you guys have never seen it, it's well worth the watch, and even better if you can find Lost in the Barrens. That's a great. Great story about early Canada, or not early Canada, but early 20th century Canada, probably 1920s, somewhere in there. It's really cool. I love the movie.
I think you've got this too. I'm not sure, but ETS wrote a good book. He wrote a book about
Canada.
Yeah, Arctic Prairies, I think.
Yeah, I got the Arctic Prairies. You probably bought it for me.
I might have. I've got a copy too. And that was a good book. I found that book. I don't know if I probably told you this, but I found that book you're there.
Hey, Mr.
Oh, I'm not there. Sorry.
Mr. Surf Fisherman.
Hey, John.
I'm waving at John. He said he's just popping in.
Got a few minutes waiting.
Dude, why aren't you fishing? Why are you not fishing?
He's chasing that little ball again. Those
aren't worth the darn for eating.
Oh man, see, that's why you need to be fishing, John. You're standing in line. You're not golfing.
So surf bum, my little sister just went on a big old adventure down to like South Carolina.
I saw that. And
went shark fishing. And she caught, I don't know how many sharks, a bunch. They released them all, but she caught a pile of them. Lots of hammerheads and a few bull sharks, I think, and some black tips. And
this is a squirrel.
Big squirrel.
Big squirrel. Team.
Big 22 squirrel.
I'm going to throw another one out there. We caught no, we didn't catch it. There was a guy surf fishing one time when we were doing the net stuff in Florida. And this guy threw a shark just up on the beach because that's what they did.
Yeah.
And it was a hammerhead about this long.
Yeah.
And that thing was beautiful. The colors on it and stuff were it was really pretty sharp. And it had they've got kind of a longer tail. So this one guy we were with picked it up by the tail, and man, was that thing a body. He was trying.
Oh, and they don't have bones, so they can just turn around on a dime.
Yes, they can.
Did you see the pictures of my sis with her?
I did.
She caught a few that were about 5 feet long.
Tina said, "Yep, big squirrel." And since we're talking about fishermen, Tina, it's going to get bigger and bigger the more we talk about
and and John said he remembers playing golf at F.E. Warren and
it. And prayed all go.
so
Well,
John, I never got more complaints from any human being in Wyoming than when I was a biologist in that part. Well, I went from Douglas all the way to Cheyenne, but I would get complaints from the officers at F.E. Warren about the antelope or pronghorn,
on the
more
run.
appropriately, on the golf course, and the fact that their little piles of droppings impacted their ability to play golf. And I'm like, you know what? I have almost no concern for your problem here, Mr. Officer, sir.
We used to get a lot of goose calls from golf courses too.
And
like
geese. I'm like, look, you guys are making perfect goose habitat for Canada geese, and don't, let your grass grow longer. Do something. And they're like, no, can't do that.
John says, we have that with goose poop. Well, people thought they were lovely until they realized they didn't migrate, and they hung around year round and crapped all over things you didn't want them to. So
we anytime I needed antelope or pronghorn to ship to trade or give to another state, like Oklahoma and Texas were always asking us for animals to reestablish populations in their home states. Anytime I needed it, I'd go to F.E. Warren, go talk to the general, catch all you want of them.
I'm sure they just loved it. This guys, moving back to the show or the topic.
Back to Vikings in Canada.
Yeah, this was what they assumed as an example of inside of one of those earthen looking mounds and whatever else they called them. I mean, they dug down into the ground and put the roofs on top, so they were actually below grade if you want to look at it that way. And one of the reasons they were out here looking around was wood, which is abundant in this reenactment house or longhouse or whatever they called them. And because they could build boats and stuff, so they came over here to get wood because of the forest they found in Canada and even further south, and then they could cut and build more boats and haul wood back to the homeland and to Greenland.
So they were big in they needed wood for boats specifically because of the ivory trade from walrus. They were killing walrus in Greenland and sending ivory back to Norway or wherever. And there are no trees on Greenland. And so they had to find a place for a source of wood, just like you were saying.
Listen to this.
I'm sorry you've lost your brother. I remember your wife when she was like
I do too.
A really gentle person.
She would never have said that in front of me. Not anymore. Yeah, not the same Brenda you remember.
Now it's just like, well, John, I'm sorry you lost your balls.
Not the same Brenda you remember, brother.
She's just fine.
She's doing that, and
She's just
believe me, she
fine.
doesn't cut any slack with me either.
That's good.
Anyway, I
You,
thought
you don't you don't need any.
Well, probably true. Probably true.
You-
But anyway, I thought this was kind of an interesting, and you never
Well,
know.
what
About,
is that guy? Is that guy eating a rib or playing an instrument?
he's playing a flute or something. I don't know what it would have. It looks like a flute to me. They might have called it something else, but he's blowing in the side of one up on one end, and then he's
Got
got
it. So it's an instrument. He's
Yeah.
not eating like a
No.
walrus rib or something.
Oops, no, it's not. But look at the horns he's got. I wonder where they collected these big horns. I guess off like Scottish cows.
Probably. Looks like something my father would have called me home with.
Well, yeah, it could have been that too. They were kind of
Well, I mean, they didn't have firearms, so they wouldn't have needed. They had to be blowing horns.
True. So anyway,
Huh.
and this one shows where they were. This left picture shows some of the small villages and whatnot that they had, and areas maybe where they had established from them down a ways in time, closer to the future. But how many settlements they had in that part of Greenland, which was quite a few. And then this map, and you may not be able to see this, but this shows Helluland and then Markland and Vinland down as they went down the western coast of Canada, eastern coast of Canada, and got down into maybe the United States down here. And then they took it back to Norway. And I forgot to put the map in here, but this is something I didn't realize. The Viking, well, I mean, I guess as I've learned, I've figured they were, but the Vikings had trade routes all over as far as Europe goes, they traveled by boat down into the Mediterranean, over the Middle East, down into Africa. I mean, they were seamen. They weren't just raiding parties. They knew how to sail and get around, navigate, and that kind of stuff.
And they weren't always hostile. I mean, a lot of times it was just strictly for trade.
And that's what they did a lot in North America, was trade for the most part. When they had hostilities, was places they usually didn't go because of that. They weren't over here to fight in those kind of numbers. They were over here to trade.
So is Vinland Nova Scotia, or part of Nova Scotia?
That's what I always thought it was.
I know they went to Maine. They've found a couple of legitimate sites in Maine. And then we, I guess we'll talk later about Minnesota and Manitoba and etc.
We're going to just here in a minute. And so anyway, and we're going to talk about Manitoba since Diana brought it up. Ian says, my wife and I were talking about how the older we get, the less refined we have become. It does take a lot of work to stay refined, Ian. I'm telling you.
Well, and I don't know about all of y'all, and that's an all of y'all statement, but I just don't care anymore.
I've heard that from somebody else.
I've just gotten to the point where, like, if you don't like it, tough.
That's how you get when you get this age.
I guess that's where it's going, because I'm just like, I just don't care. You don't like what I say, then don't listen to me.
Brenda says she's well seasoned. That's one way to put it. Ian said, I was mentioning how I cuss more than I used to, and my wife was agreeing. No young kids in the house, so no reason to keep it in check either. That's absolutely right. I'm going to tell you something. Even when you tried, and I probably didn't do a good job, they pick up stuff. Kids do, like my daughter.
Well, you know how I grew up. most of the men that I grew up around were Marines or Army guys or whatever, and they couldn't say anything without cursing a lot. And I've fought it my whole life, but after a while, it's just like, and my wife is still on me about like, hey, you need to watch your language around the children. I'm like, well, they're going to say it anyway. They're going to start in like the 3rd grade, and they're going to cuss the rest of their lives. They're going to hide it for a while, but then they're going to like, at some point, it's like, okay, we can let her all fly now.
Yeah. Okay, on Viking barrel raids, brutal raids on the British Isles was the need to defend their culture in the face of a Christian onslaught. That's true too. There are stories and books about that. You know where
there's some British Isles for you right there.
and that's from Mrs. Brown's Boys.
And they use that in a lot of those shows.
Yes, they do. She's been picking up a lot from watching that show.
And you can get away with some of that over here. You can drop one of those every now and again, and nobody even knows what you're talking about.
True.
Cursing chicken kissers.
Tina agrees with Brenda. So. Ian says they're going to have a friend teach them the bad words. Why not just have them be the one teaching? Well, I think I know what you mean there, but
I don't know why you just don't like use them and not worry about them being bad or not bad.
Talking about being sensitive, our son sent us the funniest thing on Instagram.
Bloody ours.
Where'd that come from? Oh,
from Ian.
He sent funny on Instagram about somebody being very sensitive. I think I need to pay attention to more than what he's watching. And then Ian says, you can tell people to stop being a bloody arson. It might fly over their heads. It might not, but it might. Now,
just like
with streaming TV and British shows on TV, now on streaming programs, they might pick up on it quicker than you think. My wife didn't know a lot of these words till just the last few years, and she's picked them up. And I'm sure I've told the story of my oldest daughter coming into the room and if you don't want to hear it, borrow your ears. But she walked in while I was working on her, putting together a bed for her, and she put her hands on her hips and kind of shook her head and looked and said, "Son of a bitch."
Well, mine's worse because back in the day, I was a JFC fan. Yeah, filled in.
I'm trying.
It starts with Jesus and it ends with Christ, and there's a word in the middle.
Okay, I got you.
And when I was really mad, that was like the phrase that I heard my father and other jarheads say pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And when I'd get mad, that was what would pop out. And my little daughter, Caitlin, when she was 2, maybe 2.5, and my parents had come to Wyoming to like hang out with her because she could talk and stuff then. And I told her to pick her toys up out of the living room, and she picked all of her toys up and she was carrying them in a great big bundle and heading towards her bedroom, and she tripped and dropped them all, and she stood up and put her hands on her hips and said, "Well, Jesus." And my wife said, "That one's yours, buddy."
That's on you.
Because my mother was mortified,
I know Mark's mother, and I'm quite sure.
which is not a word you hear that often anymore, but she
No.
was mortified.
See, that's another thing you pick up on this show. While it may not seem it just at first glance, there's a lot of culture being taught here.
And my father laughed till he nearly wet himself, and my mother was mortified. Because Dad knew exactly where that came from. Uncle Sam's Misguided Children taught me that one.
It's a little bit like the Red Ryder BB gun movie Christmas Carol, when the kid gets caught for saying fudge.
Fudge.
And she asked him where he
That's
learned
not
that.
what I said.
She asked him where she learned that, and she
A very cultured show, Tim.
Thank you, Ian. So anyway, let's go back to the maps here.
We could be eating tea and scrumpets.
We could. I know a show on that
Holding
they do
our
that.
pinkies up and whatnot.
If I didn't want it to flip, it would. So here's some of that Thule, and here's some of the areas where they mixed with Thule culture, and in the years. So you see right here up in Greenland, there's an area where it's 900 CE, which is 1100 years ago.
When the Dorset people went in there.
Yeah, right. And the Norse people were out here on Iceland or wherever this is.
Yeah.
And
Early.
then 1100, they're like Shelley said, they're moving down this way.
And the Tules didn't even show up till 13.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
They were the last to get there. The Dorsets were there first, and then the Tules last.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. Another thing that I've always seen pictures of Viking longboats as just being like a giant canoe
With the big old dragon on the
with
head.
a big old dragon on the front and a sail, a mast in the middle and a sail, and that's it. But if you look at this picture,
That's a pretty cool looking boat right there.
yeah, and that's more sophisticated than just a double-ended boat. That's
Right.
I mean, I've seen another image where the boat was bigger. Now they didn't look like the ones built in other parts of Europe later with the decks but I believe they had quarters underneath. I think they had some protection from the weather. It wasn't just a wide open boat. I mean,
Because the early boats looked like they were just like a big old canoe.
yeah.
And you were exposed to the elements regardless.
And they had some harsh elements.
And they were tough SOBs. These people were tough.
I mean, if you lived up there and put up with what they did, they were probably looking for Florida way back before people started going down there for the winter.
Yeah.
But, they came over here and found that the waters were bountiful and plentiful, and they could harvest, seals and.
Well, I think it's pretty cool that they came to, they went to Greenland and settled southern Greenland, which is not very nice. Iceland is actually a better climate. And
yeah, probably it's getting
Iceland is nice, and Greenland is ice, and Iceland is nice, or something they say. But they came south, and like they get down to like New Brunswick or Nova Scotia, and they're like, "Man, gosh, it's hot here," and look how far north that part of the world is.
Yeah. Well, Iceland gets that Gulf Stream, edge of that Gulf Stream. It comes up, and people don't think about that, but
keeps them pretty mild.
Yeah. Compared to what
the Japanese current hitting southeast Alaska.
So anyway, they got over here, and like I said, better boats and probably a few more of them than we realized.
Mike says, "Florida, then why do you live in Manitoba, Mike?"
That's where he was born.
Manitoba.
And then you get, now this upper map shows what some people are now saying where some of the Vikings got to. And up Winnipeg is marked. Kensington is what got me started on all this.
So that's where the stone is at,
That's
right?
where they found the stone. But they traveled down the Mississippi. Whoop! They traveled
St.
down
Lawrence.
the St. Lawrence and then went through the Great Lakes, and that's not a stretch. They could have done that easily.
Well, I mean, we had native peoples that did that like every day. You know, we had
absolutely.
Iroquois and people in particular, and Algonquian people that did that every day. That wasn't a big deal.
No, and it's probably compared to what they had managed to do crossing the North Atlantic. This was probably a cruise.
You know, it wouldn't have been near as violent. Lake Erie would have been tricksy.
Well, it could have been, yes, but for the most part,
they just come across like the North Atlantic in wooden boats, and I bet they didn't find. And it might have been like generation 2 or 3 that did that trip.
Well, and if all this didn't happen, and I'm going to talk about that in just in a moment, the controversy there.
Choose not to
places like Alexandria, Minnesota, where Big Ole lives, and he's America's biggest Viking. In case you didn't know, you didn't get his
Big Ole.
Big Ole.
Of course, he's got to be Ole.
Of course, he does. And so let me read this if you hadn't already done so. But it says Scandinavian roots run deep in Minnesota, and so does the belief among some that the first Vikings who inhabited the state were not of the National Football League variety. I love that part. The theory that the ancient Norsemen explored Minnesota as much as 1,000 years ago, 500 years before Columbus, blossomed after Swedish-American farmer Olaf Ullman and his son discovered a 200-pound rune-covered slab of stone in 1898 while clearing stumps near the rural town of Kensington. The inscription on the Kingston runestone claimed that Vikings led by Paul Knutson had come to the prairies of western Minnesota in 1362 in search of the Vinland colony established by Leif Erikson, whom some Minnesotans believe also visited their state. And that's controversial amongst certain people. It's starting to become, I'm just reading the new book and some new information on just this past week. Again, that's how I got here for a show. That more people now are starting to get on this bandwagon that, the Vikings probably did these things and probably got this far, because there's a big pushback in both scholarly, historical people, archaeologists. There was pushback that none of these things could be real. I mean, they were finding artifacts.
Which is insane.
They were finding artifacts. They were finding artifacts, and this stone that they talk about had been just labeled false out of hand in the late 1800s and early 1900s. But now we can look at that stuff much more scientifically, much more highly magnified, and many people now have looked at this stone and said, well, this can't be a fake, because they can tell how old the inscription is by how much it's weathered, right? How much it's eroded, or how much it's, so they can check that stuff. And yet a lot of people didn't want to talk about it. So, that's because people don't like change,
anything that goes against what we were taught 40, 50 years ago. Shelley said that they found a bunch of stuff at Sheboygan. I mean,
there you go. And that's in Michigan.
And I mean, when you're finding swords and axes and silver buttons and walrus ivory, there was a dude, there were people that were trading in that stuff that were there.
And see, those were being kind of poo-pooed also as being fakes at first. And some of that was happened before the stone was found. Some of it happened after the stone was found. And a lot of people were putting it just they were determined to say they were so locked into the Columbus idea and that European version of European discovery of America that they just wouldn't even talk about it. They wouldn't even discuss it with people who were out there trying to prove otherwise, which seems ridiculous to a lot of people, even to me. But I kind of do know what's going on. That, like Mark said, these things get rooted and they don't like to be changed. They don't want to have to rewrite the history books.
And this is a little bit of a squirrel, but it's appropriate to the topic. For the last 100 years, we said that Clovis people were the first people to settle in the Americas 13,000 years ago. That Clovis Native Americans, even though they're no more native than any of the rest of us are, but they were the first people here, and they were the first culture in the Americas. And now we've pushed it back maybe 25,000, 30,000 years now. There's the Western stem people that were definitely here before Clovis. There's all these folks that they're finding, evidence of. And it's like, well, the world's older than we think it is. I mean, occupation of the world is older than we think it is.
Where's that coming from?
Did you hear the train?
I did.
Oh.
I forgot it's right behind your house.
Y'all, it's such a lovely addition to the landscape. Although this house wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the train. So,
well, Ian, I don't know. They just call him Ole, but yeah, maybe that's what I kind of figure. I don't know how many different kinds of Ole or Olafs there were, but yeah, that's what I think. But he's
well,
the big
and they call him Big Ole.
Yeah,
if you really want to get down to it, his name is Big Ole.
Oh my goodness.
Spelling wise.
Yeah, Mark, there's a Pacific Northern Railroad, Northern Pacific or Pacific Northern runs not too far from Mark's house.
It's Union Pacific, and it's
he doesn't like it much.
I don't much care for him because they killed my bison. They led to the too much settlement, and they killed all my buffalo off.
So here's kind of what we got started then. What got not this particular book, but I happened to watch a television show.
Is that the stone?
That's the stone.
Oh, that's cool.
And this is how they found the stone. You can't see my hand. This is how they found the stone. They were clearing this area for farming, and Olaf was an immigrant from Norway. He'd come over for a better life, but he was up.
And it was in the roots of that tree.
And it was bound up in the roots of that tree. And the people who have examined this this stone, say that there is, they can tell actually that it was wrapped. The roots and stuff were wrapped around it long enough to, erode into it to some degree and leave marks. So they've pretty much proven this is how it was found.
That's cool.
And yes, it is cool. And this particular guy named Scott F. Walters, if you look him up, he's done quite a bit of work on this subject. And he is a renowned professor of geology, and he does a lot of work with just what we were talking about, aging things like that and studying inscriptions of all kinds. And he's been doing this for quite some time, and he was involved in this one television show that Brendan and I watched, where there was an old Viking, a guy from Sweden or Norway, was over here, and he had a local friend with him, and they were trying to search out the stone and figure out why the story never went any further than it had over the years. And they started bumping up against all these barriers of people not wanting to talk about it. And they finally went to Scott.
Oh, it was Columbus. It was Columbus.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to, like you said, they didn't want to rewrite the books, you know. Whether the hell with whether it's right or wrong, we don't want to confuse people because people can't learn new stuff, you know. So anyway, there's a cool story with this book cover, and I'll come back to that in a few minutes. Mark, I sent you an email about this. I don't know if you've looked at your email much. That's Olaf right there. That's the man that found the stone, and he's got the stone. And eventually he did sell the stone to like the Minnesota Historical Society or something. And
so
stone,
it is in good hands then.
as far as I know, it is now in good hands. Yes, it's still there. As far as I know, it's still there.
Because it's awful when these things end up like,
yeah, lost art.
We're going to send this to the state fair or whatever, and then it just disappears.
I don't know where. Yeah, and nobody remembers who had it. But anyway, that's it. Looks like he built a box for it, and it's got the inscription on it. And a couple of reasons I don't believe Olaf did this, or that's kind of obvious to most people, is one, it's written in some old script that nobody uses. He wouldn't have had any reason to know it.
Right.
And he wasn't that educated. I mean, a lot of these farmers came over here, didn't have schooling and stuff. And when he first pulled it out, he never asked anybody for anything for it. I mean, he wasn't out trying to make a living with it, but he got so much rejection. Here's the sad part of the story is I don't know if he did, but several members of his family, as it stepped down the line, committed suicide. What's the thumbs up for?
For Shelley. Yes, that's the Kensington stone, Shelley. Down at the bottom.
Down at the bottom. Oh, yes, that is it. That's it, Shelley. And the story that I picked this up on.
She's speaking Lakota too, Wakantanka. I'm just so pleased with today's show.
What's Tina saying here?
We've got people speaking Lakota. We're talking about cool Viking stuff. So he
all that
because I was talking about my bison.
Yeah.
So did he commit suicide?
I don't think he did, but like a couple of his sons have over the years or back then. There's not too many left. He has a grandson that's still involved trying to clear his father's name, because once it became by certain people, then he got really I don't know how to put this. I'm trying to think. Well, he did, because he got so much rejection. But I mean, he was basically made out to be a liar and a con man kind of thing, and his family really suffered.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and his family really suffered because of that, and so there was a lot of tragedy in the family over the years.
That's ridiculous.
Let's see here. Mike said they put it with the stuff in Area 51. And then Mike also said they would put it in storage with the rest of the stuff there. Oh, that's the same thing. You said that twice, Mike. Sorry. But yeah, Tina, that I do think people think we're too stupid to learn new stuff. Mike says, I've never.
I mean, what does it hurt? That's the part I've never been able to figure out.
Why? Me too.
Just because you challenge the accepted belief of the time doesn't mean you're wrong. If you have different evidence, why wouldn't you just say, "Oh, we've got new evidence," and that's what we're going to do? It's like archaeologists having urination matches over. Well, the people I discovered were the first people here, and now you don't believe, like the closed first people, like, oh, I'm never going to believe that there were people here earlier, even though they found stuff that's like feet below Clovis levels. Like, I think the evidence is pretty strong to suggest that you were wrong originally, and we're not saying you were a bad person.
Well, they didn't know.
You had the information you had, and now new people have different information. I don't get it. I don't understand that.
Yeah, they're not trying to beat you out and become.
Yeah, they're not saying, "Well, you were a dumbass." Yeah.
This is an adult show.
Nobody was saying that the guys that said that Clovis guys were the first people here. Nobody's saying that they're unintelligent. They have new information now. And why wouldn't you accept that?
I'm going to go off and grab this book in just a minute because I want to answer Mike's question before I let it get away and comment on what he said.
About Area 51?
No, about he feels left out. He hadn't read this book. Probably not many in here have read the book, including me. I haven't read the whole thing. I'm working on it, but it's one heck of a book. Let me show you this book. Give me a second to get my battered and crumpled body back in my seat. Ouch. Poor old me. Okay, here it is, Mike, just so you know. This is the actual book, of that book anyway, and it's that thick. I don't know, you metric or inches, Mike?
Is this the Kensington Runestone book?
This is one of many, I'm sure. This is
the book we're looking at the cover of.
Yeah, this is the book right there. But what I was going to show Mike was look at this thing. I mean, the print in it looks like a textbook. It's written. I mean, it's got small print. It's taken me a while to get really get into it because my guys have to be rested and I have to be ready to go. But it's just got lots of neat stuff. And I can't wait to just devour it all. And he's got several other books because he has also become one of the probably, I guess I'd say, leading or at least more vocal people that believes that part of this is not just Vikings, that he believes that some of it might have been Templar Knights because a lot of people, if you read the history, the Knights disappeared after they were basically all killed in the 1300s, I think, and on Friday the 13th, in fact, and but they didn't really disappear. I mean, think about it, and realistically, I'm sure some got away and some never got attacked because they were managed to move, and I'm sure they still existed, and I kind of think maybe some of this is true. We'll see in time. I hope in my lifetime they can confirm some of this stuff. But it does appear that not only Vikings were doing this very early, but some of these Templar Knights, and maybe even doing it together. What are the Indians, the native First Peoples over in Nova Scotia area or over that way? Micmac? No, not Micmac.
Micmac, Paddywhack,
Pollywat or something. No, they're the
Micmacs. They're in Nova Scotia.
Micmac, is it? Well, okay.
Yeah. Micmac.
They actually, if that's the right ones, and I could be wrong, but if that's
the right talking Penobscots, which
they
is
south of the Penobscots, I know that. They actually have legends about white men coming over from in boats, and they describe them as not Vikings, but Knights. And it's an interesting thing is that tribe has a flag that they fly, or a pendant, or whatever you want to call it. And it is an exact opposite replica of the Templar Knight of that, or flag a Templar Knight flag that was used at that time. And I mean, how does that happen? You're talking about a primitive situation. They didn't have cable or internet or phones to use to send pictures of things, and yet they've got this, and they've historically, by their tribe, had it since these people came over. What were you laughing about?
You're Shelley.
What's saying?
I said Mick Paddywhack, and she said give a dog a bone.
Oh. That's right. That's how it goes, Shelly. I couldn't remember.
And that leads me to Gary Larson and
the
cartoon Far Side that he drew, where the old lady's like out. There's a hill coming down to right behind the house, and she's out. Knick knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone, and the old man's coming down the hill rolling because supper was ready or whatever.
I do remember that. Mike says, "No kidding. Where did you read this?" I'm here at the house, Mike. This is something I've acquired since retirement. Brenda worries about me and my book habit. I've got a book.
He has a book habit.
My name is Tim, and I am a bookaholic. So I do have a book habit, and
me too.
I just had to get this stuff to read because I've been reading other books that are laying out details of these early Templar visits or possibly Templar visits. And, it just kind of leads me to the next section of the,
what's that show you love? Oak Island.
Oak Island, yeah. Which is funny because when that show first came on TV, I didn't watch it at all. I thought, this is just more, because they've been working on that island for 200 years trying to find treasure.
Yeah, like trying to find the treasure, but they're finding stuff that's
finding stuff. They're finding
not treasure, but it is treasure.
Yeah, it's historical treasure. They're finding things. They have found stuff there now that is Roman. Now they're not saying Romans came over here, but people who traded with the Romans came over here.
Right.
Which almost had to be the Templars. Hey, Michelle, I don't know if I said hi, and I saw you pop in, and
I think the world was smaller even then than we think it was. I think that people went places that, not a lot of people were literate. So how would you write down that you went? Like, I just went over to Florida today or whatever.
And who could read it? I mean, they would store it and put it away in the Dead Sea Scrolls somewhere.
And I think they've pretty much figured that, like, Basques, were over, like, trading off the coast of Maine and Newfoundland and places, maybe even before the Vikings.
Wow. Well, maybe.
And
Mike,
so
this book has been a tough one for me to read because I can't find a good place to rest it. It weighs about 400 pounds. This is one of the heaviest paperback books I've ever had in my life. It feels like
that's one of those you need like a
reading stand.
You need like a Bible stand for that.
Yeah, I do, to read it because it is. So honestly, if I read it, I have to put a pillow here and prop it up so I can hold it open and read through it. And I don't know if we've discussed this or not, but when I read
books, people, not basses, the Basques.
When I read this, kind of stuff, I tend to flip back and forth and look at pictures and notes when they're mentioned. So it takes me a while to, because I have to I have to link the context and or content and figure out who said that.
Ian, I'm sorry I didn't enunciate. It's Bass Cup.
Oh, he thought you said the Bass people. Yeah, I think that's BASQUE or something.
Yeah, and they like herd sheep in Wyoming now, but before that they were grand adventurers.
Well, and other people were too. I mean, Italians may have been over here at some time. They certainly were trading in Africa by then. They knew, but I tell you who the first person I ever read, and don't laugh, but the first book I ever read that really I think opened my eyes to that fact that the world
Louis L'Amour
was Louis L'Amour and his memoirs. He
My
was
man.
Yeah, he was a merchant marine. I think not. Yeah, merchant marine. He was in the merchant marine, I guess, in World War II.
Well,
And,
no, he was a tank officer in World War II, but he was in the merchant marine. He was in the merchant marine before that.
Yeah, okay. And early on, he was pretty young when he started out, and he went to a lot of places. And he also had a book habit. And he said it was amazing to him to go into the Middle East in the Mediterranean areas when the ship would dock, and he had time off and shore leave and whatnot. He would he would search out for these old bookstores, and they existed back then just like they do today. And he, in those bookstores, especially in the Middle East, he found all kinds of things about historic events that were never in a book in this country or England or anywhere he had ever been that was Northern European.
Right.
And it's come out more and more over the years. Like the Islamic culture had all kinds of math, algebra and high level math issues, things,
places that didn't exist in the world according to general culture.
That's probably all another story, but I mean that can go way deep. But that's where he said when you got out to these places and started finding these books, you might have to have them interpreted, but they told stories about different things that had been passed down, just like our history books. And he found it fascinating, and it opened the whole world to him that eventually led to his books. And yes, he wrote Westerns, but his Westerns, one thing about his Westerns were they were always correct.
He always had been to every spot he ever wrote about. Well, and I had every book the man had ever written at the time.
A bunch of them too. My dad read them all.
And I still have most of them. I gave a whole set to Homie Cole, and because he loved his writing too, and I've since re-procured most of them, so because I love them.
It's not been mentioned yet. I'm going to go ahead and out him, but Mark's got a book habit too.
I got a bad book habit, yeah.
And I blame him on my book habit sometimes.
I didn't start it. I didn't. You blame me to your wife.
Well, when books show up on the doorstep,
it's because of that Zorns kid.
Yeah, that Zorns guy keeps, talking me into this. He
told me about this saber-tooth cat book. I just had to get one.
So it's Mark's fault. Anyway.
I'm sorry, but I'm not really that sorry. Knowledge is a golden and precious thing.
Yes, it is. Books are, I still believe, hell with computers, right? Books are just one of the most precious.
I didn't know this, Shelley.
What is she saying?
But for some reason, I think that's perfectly normal that she's a Basque.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. And she also mentioned that the Templars apparently came to the Americas in 1390. That's about what, that's
Yeah,
in the
that's
time
when
frame they're thinking.
that's about
Exactly.
when, and they figured the Vikings were maybe here a couple hundred years earlier or more.
Or more. They found. I've got another book over here that has also led me down this trail, but it was written by another historical expert / professor. I'm not sure exactly what all her, but she's got a lot of, she's got an alphabet in front of her name or behind her name or whatever. But she was researching this, and she went to some cities in Italy where they have discovered over the years that a lot of things were stored that came from the Middle East by the Templars. That the Templars had forts and stations, way stations. The Templars had a security system all over that part of the world for a while, and they had money. They traded and sold and did stuff with money and gold and whatnot. That's why they're probably known for having treasures. And they had also had documents that were written down and saved in these and shelved away in these places beneath chapels and churches, and some of them are in little towns in Italy that at one time were little forts of what they call it, small like city states. And so they're still finding this stuff. And she found some documents that were dated in the 1300 range, where some men made a trip
Michael Cremo
to the Americas from Italy, and the Templars were involved. They went out through the Gibraltar Straits and went across, and they had a map of it and lots of drawings and writings that were all about a trip they made to the Americas long before people thought anybody else was here. And it's a fascinating book. It's got some and she's got those articles, those documents printed. They're like log entries for travel. And she said, "Oh no, out last night." Oh yeah. Michelle's talking about what she made last night. Oh my God, I love stuffed bell peppers. Are you going to do that on YouTube, Michelle? Stuffed bell peppers I have a weakness for them too. A good read is Forbidden Archaeology by Michael Cremo. Oh, well, if I get in trouble for that, Shelley, can I say you did it?
I think we've hit upon one of Shelley's many hobbies.
I think so. I think Shelley
this is a fascinating topic, and I think it's we think we know stuff, and we don't have all the evidence sometimes. So
yeah, and as we find it, we shouldn't just automatically.
We shouldn't say, well, that's BS, because it goes against the paradigm.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you should see a psychiatrist.
Sometimes I
wish I was the road runner. Maybe you should see a psychiatrist. I'm not crazy, I swear.
No. He just remembers things.
I just have a memory that's stupid.
Okay, no, it's not stupid. That's not stupid. Okay, I got to catch up on the chat here. Mike said, Michelle, send us a photo of the stuffed bell peppers. Brenda, I got to get Brenda to make some stuffed bell peppers, Mike, and I'll send you that too.
My wife makes a wonderful stuffed bell pepper, but I don't like bell pepper.
I don't like green ones so much. We use red ones or yellow ones usually.
I've never tried that.
No,
but I I like the stuffing part, the meat and cheese. That's my
Oh yeah, well yeah, I do too. She usually makes extra.
extra
Mike's gotta go.
extra filling.
Yeah, she usually makes extra stuffing so I can have it just by itself.
Yeah,
I eat the bell peppers too, mind you, but
I'd be all over that, and
Yeah.
I'll eat the bell pepper. It's not my favorite. But
Mike, thanks for the input and coming in, buddy. Hope everything goes well. Brenda says the bell peppers have to be
the last time
over
you
orange.
the
No,
last time you two went down the Looney Tune trail, the show shut down.
yeah, but well, yeah, and
Which just kills me.
me too, actually.
It actually like crippled my spirit a little bit that somebody would do that.
To Looney Tunes, I mean, come on.
It's Looney Tunes.
Diane, are you leaving also? She might already be gone. Diana, I mean.
Diana was leaving. I thought I saw earlier.
She may already have left, yeah. Have a good day, Mike. So anyway, this stone was controversial when it was found, and this is in Kensington, Minnesota. And I think it makes perfect sense that people could have been there because they traveled by water and rivers, and that's how they explored. They traveled they went into the inland in Europe and traded because they went up the rivers. I mean, that's just what they did for a living, other than,
and they were really good at it.
Yeah, they were really good at it. Come on, wrong way. And this is that's
the stone. That is the stone.
This is the stone, and you can see the inscriptions. And I
just built that in my backyard last week. Whatever.
Stuffed it out there under that tree for everybody to see, and might think it's a real thing, and it's not. I got something on my screen. No, I guess it's on the rock. Never mind. But here's the thing on this stone that they think proves, or some people think that this proves when this was done. And there was only a couple of groups of people in the world in this time period that used this particular rune, and it's right here. You can see my cursor moving around. There is an X, and there's an X with what they call a hook on it right there, and they refer to that as the hooked X. And that was only ever showed up in runes that were done by Templars and Cistercian monks. I don't know. I'm not
Templars or Vikings.
No, this was in that time frame in the Templars. So they're not. I mean, this was Vikings, or it could have been like a joint effort. Here is what they may be thinking.
Oh, cool.
But this was probably Viking. But they are using the hooked X, so they feel like there was at least some heavy influence there because they were the only ones that ever used that. There's a couple of documents. This one is a
copy of the text?
No, this was a copy. This was how some of the stuff how they interpreted the runes, and some of the stuff how they related to our alphabet, if you will, and that sort of thing.
I'd like to get a tattoo of the Kensington stone on my back. Can you imagine how bad that would hurt?
Oh, it'd be a long one too. It'd take a while, but hey, what happened there? Come back.
I don't know, buddy. Daggone mosquitoes. What'd you do?
I don't know.
You got a yellow screen.
Yeah, let me fix that.
See if you can just reload it and
something went kablooey. Hang on, guys. This might be rapid. Okay. So anyway, that's the stone. And you'd have to read up on the hooked X to get the better feel of how, who, what, when, where. But that's a key to the aging this stone because one, Olaf wouldn't have known about a hooked
And
X.
so, yeah, I mean, exactly. Like a farmer in the 1890s, how's he going to even know that even existed?
That's right.
Hi, baby.
Hey there. Is that Della?
That's Delamay.
Della Mae.
That's Uncle Tim.
Hi, Della Mae.
Hello.
How are you today?
Wave this hand. Hi. Hi. How are you today? He said. Yeah.
How you like that new colt or fawn?
Hey, how do you like that new puppy? Won't you come tell him about that puppy? No. That dog hasn't walked since she got to the house.
Oh, I got you. Ian says as long as Vikings didn't chase waterfalls, hopefully they stuck to the rivers and the lakes. They were not couldn't resist. Okay, yeah, don't chase waterfalls. I got that, Ian. Whoa, hey there, puppy.
That's a dwarven warrior steed.
Oh boy.
Did you know that corgis that was their deal? They were the steeds of dwarven warriors.
Did not know
in
that.
the Welsh tradition. They
Did
even
not
have
know
a
that.
cinch. They even have a cinch mark on them. Okay, go. Be gone.
Well, Tina,
Now, why?
Michelle, that might make a whole lot of sense right there, what you said about your mom. Brenda says because the pepper has changed colors, it becomes sweeter. Yes, it does. And Ian must have said something. Did I miss it? Oh, yeah, about the Vikings. Yeah. good one, Ian.
To rivers.
Don't go chasing waterfalls is a song. It's from a hip hop song by Salt and Pepper or somebody like that. No, who was that? What was that?
Isn't the reference I got?
Beyonce's former group. Tina says, "Oh, I thought it was a different pepper bread for color." Like I said, never noticed different flavor. Oh, the flavor is different. There's green bell peppers have a little bit of a tartness or something to them. I can't really describe it. And reds are sweeter, and yellows, reds, and orange are all about the same. But I think that reds are the absolute best.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. Howdy. Hang on.
I think there's a company at the Zorn's house. The Lazy Z has been invaded. Okay, I think what impressed you, Ian? I want to make sure I do it again. If I impressed you, then I feel like I've accomplished something. Excuse me. Sounds like her house. Lazy Z sounded like it was under attack. I think it might be, Ian. I'm not sure. I don't know if that was one of the boys or if that was a neighbor.
Is someone still outside in the front?
Oh, Ian, I was in my 30s when that came out, but I had daughters that liked that song. Beyonce was, that was when she was with them.
Well, you're talking about Beyonce now.
Well, I'm not. I'd see.
Might be a good time for me to get the heck off of here.
No, I'm done. Don't go yet.
Because the fecal material has hit the rotary cooling device, as my boss would have said. I'm glad I could make you laugh. That's a good one, isn't it?
That's a good one there.
Go ahead, Tina. Write that one down.
The fecal matter
has hit the rotary cooling device.
Your mom and dad are in town working a fishing.
You got issues there?
What's that?
Do you have issues there you need to go tend to?
No, I got company that just showed up.
What do you call it? The rotating cooling device?
The what?
What did you call the cooling device?
The rotary
Rotary.
cooling device.
Gotta write these things down. I might need you.
As Timmons would say to Kevin Costner in one of our favorite movies, go ahead and put that one in your book, Lieutenant.
Reckon why they don't write. Reckon why they don't write. Tina says we're up to 5. Okay, let's go. Is that sons and daughters kind of company or neighbors?
Huh?
Your company, is that sons and daughters or neighbors?
Neither.
Neither. Wow.
Uh-oh. I gotta go. I got some screaming youngin'
Okay.
that nobody's paying attention to, so I'm just gonna mute us and then I'll be back if I can.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go to the next slide while Mark's handling family business. Dances with Wolves is one of our favorites, Shelley. Another one is Outlaw Josie Wales, and another one is an old movie called The Mountain Man that was made back in the late 70s, early 80s. Had Charlton Heston in it and Brian Keith, who was just one of the best characters in that. And a few other people. I can't remember who else was in it. But Mark has this memory where he can see a movie once, and if it's funny or got something in it, it sticks in his brain. And he can come up with them sometimes at the darndest times. So anyway, let me finish this story. The one on the right was where they were using to interpret the stone, the different kinds of glyphs and carvings and runes that they used back at certain times. The one on the document on the left is when Olaf Ullman sold the stone to the museum. And does that say $10? Well, if he sold it for $10, that's pretty much means he wasn't in it for the money, I would say. Oh, you guys can't see it. I got to represent it. That's part of what happened. Can you now? I'll leave it here till I know. TLC, not Destiny. Oh, okay. I had that part wrong. Sorry, Ian. Well, at least I knew the song. You won't believe this, but I used to hear that song. I was an earworm for me sometimes when I would hear it. I couldn't get it out of my head. So now you can see them. Okay, well, let me go back. I just show you this was where we're at. That was the stone. Did you guys see that? Well, if you didn't, this is the actual stone. There's some inscriptions on this side and inscriptions on here. And I did not bring up the interpretation. I don't know why. But basically, this is dated for 1380 something, I believe. And it talks about where they had been, that they had other men and ships waiting out before they could go home, and at the coast of either the ocean, far up the the St. Lawrence or in one of the Great Lakes. That's not clear. And they also had an encounter with either Indians that they were referring to as Redskins because of when they died, or just, very bloody, because they talked about they were red with blood or something. And they had 11, I think it was 8 or 11 people that they had to bury along with, as they went back out of this area. And they think, again, and this is partly where the Templar connection comes in with this stone, is that they it might have been a marker. Some people think this was a marker stone for future reference and to come back to it kind of as we claim this, we claim this field or this land in name of Leif Erikson or something, kind of like the Spaniards would do. You have a flag in the beach and say, we hereby declare the Holy Roman King of Spain or something. And the document on the left again, is the sale document where Olaf Ullman sold the stone to the museum originally. And I can't believe that. I didn't know, but it says, all I see up here is $10. So if he sold it for $10, it's pretty obvious he wasn't just making up something to try to get rich on. Okay, so this is the picture. There it went again. It did that again. Okay, do you guys see it or not? It flipped. It on this end, it flickered again. Again, I just need to know if you guys are able. Okay, you can see it. All right. Okay, but you saw the flicker too. Okay. Well, let me go to the next slide before it gives up on me. I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, I know why it did that. Crap. Okay, I don't even know if I want to tell you guys why it did that. Apparently, that's the end of my slides. So we'll just do that and we'll talk about it a little more. Okay, so nobody should have it. Yeah, you know what I may have done was flipped it down to a blank slide, and that's why it went blank. So it could have just all been operator error, if you believe that. I mean, how could that be, right, Shelley? Let me see if I can pull up the document and put that on the screen. Kensington Runestone. Here it is. Let me see if they got it here in old Wikipedia. Surely they do. Found the bill of sale. Hopefully I can enlarge it. No, not here. Okay. I can't. The text consists of 9 lines on the face of the stone and 3 lines on the edge, reads as follow: 8 Goter, which I guess are their men. Okay, 22 Norman. Okay, or I guess some of this I can't read. Vinland of something. Again, more Norwegian or more interpretations that I can't read. 2 days north from maybe destination, and they caught fish, and they 10-man road, red of blood and dead, and they buried them at that site. Oh, and I know there's a better interpretation that I could actually just read. It was all in English. I don't know. Shelley, do you have that by any chance? Have you found that? That's right, Tina. No pictures were harmed. Oh, don't. I'm still trying to find that guy. Sorry. Bear with me just a minute. And here's another one where somebody's saying it was a hoax planted near the site of the Kensington. Oh, it might be another one. I believe that one. The ones that come next, if anything came along after this one, I would be cautious of. Not saying they can't be there, but I am going to say that I would be cautious because that sort of thing in history is sort of bred fakes that, people are trying to sell or read in public for a fee, or, just all kinds of things. Okay, here we go. Here it is. I've been passing right over it. 8 Gotlanders and 22 Northmen on this exploration journey from Vinland far to the west. We had a camp by 2, maybe shelters, 1 day's journey north from this stone. We were fishing one day. After we came home, found 10 men red from blood and dead. Ave Maria, saved from evil. So this is after, if they're talking about Ave Maria, I know there's a couple of Catholics in the room. That tells me that they may have already been converted to Christianity, which some of the Vikings did, which again could, hey, buddy, you got anything to say about this? You want to add about Vikings? I don't know if Miss Carol, if you're still listening, Teddy's here. And he's, woke up and had a comment about the Viking stone. He believes it's real. And he's not sure what all the fuss is about, because to him it just looks like a rock. And he's more interested in if we found some smilodons in the area. So, no smilodons, buddy. He's kind of hung up, ever since we did the saber-toothed tiger talk, he's kind of hung up on smilodons, aren't you? And since we started watching the Nashville Predators hockey team, his favorite mascot is Nash, who is supposed to be a saber-toothed tiger. Yeah, didn't you? Can I kiss your ears? No kissing ears? Okay, no problem. Back to a nap. Shelley said, I'm not sure what you're looking for, but they did express it was a hoax. But then again, if it doesn't fit the narrative, the thing is, if you go on to other books, you'll start reading things that makes a lot of sense, that leans toward making it saying it is the real thing. There are some scientists and professors, or whatever you want to call it, academia, who have accepted it as the real thing, and some who still haven't, from what I can gather. Here, Tina said, there's Teddy, and Ian said, Teddy, and Tina said, Teddy says it's real rock, Dad, but not my thing. That's pretty close, Tina. And Ian said you're probably not a fan of Bernie the St. Bernard. He said cats rule and dogs drool. So that's quote, Ian. I hope, I just thought of something. I hope Mark's not had a dog killed on the railroad or something. That's happened before, so I hope that's not why he had to leave. Did I finish reading? Oh, no, I didn't. Let me finish reading this. Ave Maria, safe from evil, is on the side of the stone. There are 10 men by the inland sea, Great Lakes, I'm thinking, to look after our ship's 14 days journey from this peninsula or island, year 1362. And that's where the 1360, that's one of the places at 1362. That's why they think they were there in that time period and were probably over here much earlier if they got down that far. There's a lot of stuff online about it, pro and con. I don't know. I kind of think maybe it's true. I don't know why it wouldn't be. I know that there were a lot of hoaxes built over the years. Chuck says Teddy has good taste in hockey teams. How about that, Teddy? That's right, we do. We like other teams too, but that's our favorite. I root for I root for the Canadian teams unless they're playing the Predators, because I'd really like to see a Canadian team get back in the Stanley Cup once. They haven't been there in quite a while. And, I think that's only fair. They invented the game after all. Got to go, everybody. Doug, you have a good day, sir. Thanks for coming in. I hope we didn't bore you plumb to death. So far, to me, it's been a pretty good day. Oh, and it's way past time to go off. Well, that right there shows you it's been a good conversation because we've been here a while. And I've managed to make it through. My rear end didn't hurt too bad. Lots of people saying bye, Doug. Hope you have a great day. So that was the slideshow. There's so much more about this subject that I could have gotten into, and I actually thought about getting into the yeah, it is, Ian. I didn't realize that. I get lost in it when I'm engaged in it, when I'm reading about it, when I think I know something and it's new and exciting like this is to me, I lose track. So I apologize if I kept anybody too long, but thanks for hanging in with me. I'll hang around here just for a minute longer to see if Michelle got lost in it. No worries, Tim. Nobody's complaining. Well, that's good. I appreciate that, Tina. But comments, questions, I'll write stuff down and look it up, or you can. I think I would like to do another show. I don't know if I'll do it next week. I would like to go into how the Templars tie in, and some of the places they think they were also sailing off to and trading. If you do watch the Oak Island thing, the historians and whatnot that are working with those guys are, when they're finding these Roman coins, and they've been authenticated by, trained numerologists or whatever they're called, numismatists. But oh, Ian, well, you don't hang around, buddy. We can, I can send you. Well, you can't get online, I guess, but we could probably find something to keep ourselves busy. We could talk about the Tour de France, or the IndyCar race. Hi, buddy. I think it's in Toronto tomorrow. Or what else could we talk about, Ted? There was something we were going to watch, wasn't it? Not sure what it was. But anyway, Michelle says, I am procrastinating. Next up is my plumbing fixing Hannah's plugged hair drain. Oh, my goodness. Back to plumbing. You did some plumbing once before on your channel. You're pretty handy to have around. Got to go up to the corner and get some bacon. Oh, fresh bacon. Is it smoked or just cured? Sally, now you really got my interest, Pete, because you've never heard me say it, bacon rules. And there's, you know, pork fat rules, as Emerald says, but bacon is king of the heap, especially if it's, you know, homemade fresh and either cured or smoked. But I love smoked cured bacon. Ooh. I used to buy it to take camping sometimes when I didn't have to carry a whole lot. Monarch Moments, I think your plumbing video was the first one I watched of yours fixing the toilet. You know what, Tina? That was one of the first ones I saw too. And her and Hannah, I believe, fixed the toilet. Oh, Tina says bacon and butter makes everything better. Well, you got that right. Oh, dang. Shelly, you're killing me there. Plath's bacon, it's smoked. Do they have, what's their full name? Oh, I found it. Plath's meat. Oh my God, look at that. Oh. 5 pounds of sliced smoked bacon for $59. It's the price of bacon in the grocery store right now. I'd probably pay that for some. Clicked on the wrong tab there, Tim. Man, it looks good. Has anybody in here ever been to, and I'm going to let you guys go just in a second. We talked about the Bass people earlier, but has anybody ever been to Spain and tried their, I guess, cured pork or well, I guess it is mostly pork hams. Oh, I know it's expensive, but $7.50 a pound for something that good, I'd probably pay it once in a while. I guess they charge it's a tiny bit more for it if they're shipping it. But that's about right, though. Yeah, a little bit more. I didn't see if they were charging shipping. But it's right there online. Or maybe that's just an ad, come down and get it for that price. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's time to go, guys. I think people have things to do. Well, I haven't either. I've just seen it all on television, on travel shows and things. But they have they are supposed to make some of the finest cured hams and pork. I don't know what they do with beef, but with pork, they're really at the top of the heap, and it's just looks so good. Oh, Michelle, I'm going to tell you right now, I think you missed something. It's supposed to be just, it looks good, and it's supposed to be just wonderful. I mean, they make, I guess, a Spanish version of, what is it you eat? What is it you eat with like cantaloupe and stuff? Brenda, are you still awake? Not prosciutto. Oh, Plath is Michigan based. Well, then that's got to be good, right? Do they have a lot of facilities, Shelly, or that small mom and pops kind of place? Somebody like Plath would be a good sponsor. Just because I love bacon, I could talk about bacon all day long. Teddy, what are you looking for, buddy? What'd you find? Did you drop a treat? So I'm back. What are we talking about now? Well, we're getting ready to say goodbye, dude. Is that okay? You ready to go back? We can go back and get comfortable on the couch for a little while, and you can lay on me and sleep if you want to. Michelle says we were broke college students, and all I remember eating was bread and liver pate. Oh, well, you got to do what you got to do. And Shelley says just 2 locations in Petrosky and Rogers City. Am I saying that right, Shelley? Or Petrosky? Or Petoskey? Petoskey. I kind of feel that way too, Shelley. I'm not. Liver pate has never interested me much. Teddy said he'd probably eat it, but I've had what we used to call liver loaf from a deli that's sliced. It's supposed to be liver loaf, and maybe for all I know, it's compacted pate. It's always got a ring of fat around it. Yeah, kind of liverwurst is kind of like that. Petoskey. Yes or no, Shelley? I don't want to leave here not knowing how to pronounce it correctly. It's like cat food, Tina. Yeah, when it's a pate, it's just all turned up into some kind of, hey, good deal, Shelley. Thank you for the help. It's it's a lot like cat food, or deviled ham, or potted meat in a can kind of thing. And I've had that. I've eaten a lot of deviled ham or potted meat in my life. That's probably what that is, really. So I don't want to know what's in it. I'd probably be afraid to know. That's one of those things where everything but the squeal goes in. They use the pig. They use the whole pig, everything but the squeal. Okay, guys. It has been a fun morning. Mark will figure out that we're gone after a while when he shows up. I'm hoping this is not a bad thing. I hope maybe he'll call me later. And if he does, I'll let you guys know what happened. For his neighbor to come over and bring news, I have just a bad feeling about it. So anyway, thanks everybody. I really appreciate you coming in and suffering through all this, or I hope you enjoyed it. I'm open to this any more discussion about this or any other topic. If anybody ever has something they want to talk about, send me a note and we will. Thank you, Tina. I'll pass that along. Tina says, I grew up eating what was put in front of me, learned to like lost. You know what, Tina? So did I. There was one place where I tried to draw the line, not always completely successful, but that was liver. And my mom tried to fix it every way she could think of and convinced me it was something besides liver, and she was never successful. She cooked it with onions, she cooked it with other things, and she cooked it and told me it was, fried steak, and I always shook my head and said, no, Mom, that's liver. That's the only thing I just couldn't do it. Liver just never has suited me well, again, unless it was like a liver loaf on a sandwich. But anyway. Oh, you're welcome, Michelle. And I'm sorry I missed your show last night. I got busy finishing this up, which I wasn't really completely done, as you can see by the ending, and was hurting. And so I went upstairs and sat with Brenda for a little while. And then I went to bed. So I apologize for not being in your guys' show. I'll try to pick up the replay on it. All right. Bye, Ian. Bye, Francisco. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here. Love y'all. See you next week, I hope. And I don't know what the topic's going to be, but I'll try to figure it out. But it may be, I don't know if I want to do more of this. It might wait a couple of weeks just so it doesn't bore everybody to tears. So let me know what you think if you want to. And you can tell me it was boring as hell and a crock of crap, but that's okay. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Shelley, thanks for coming in. You added some good content, so I appreciate that. Everybody, Tina, Carol, if you're listening, and John when he came in, and who else are we missing? Mike and Diana. I'll tell them later too. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. I'm Set and Crooked.